We got the music AI.
Yeah, you were threatening to sing, so it just was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
It feels like a month and a week, but not a productive month. Just
Well,
a month
it's
and a
only
week.
been 2 weeks since I saw you. Is that right? A week?
No, we recorded last week
Oh, okay.
with Steven. Yeah,
I know.
we're on a streak now.
Yeah,
This is what you call a streak.
this is a streak for you. Yeah, I mean, it's like this is the new streak. Because before that, it was like crickets.
Well, crickets is a sound.
Yeah.
And we're an audio and video podcast, so it could be a podcast about crickets.
No, please not.
Cricket legs. This protein in crickets.
Kurt goes to the karaoke bar, and his song of choice is.
Oh, I actually I don't think you went out with this.
No, I
group
don't.
in
I know.
San Francisco.
This is part of the reason why I'm asking, because I have no idea what your go-to is.
Well, in San Francisco at the conference, where were you? I wonder what happened. It must have been like after.
I went to sleep.
Yeah, right. And a friend who we'll leave they nameless.
Yeah, probably should, because I mean, when there's a part of the evening that I'm just like, I'm not a part of, like, and I'm asking sort of in a polite context, but at the same time ribbing just a little bit.
I think
because I have traveled with you a couple times, so I do know.
More than once, more than thrice.
Mm.
Well, anyway, I didn't actually sign up. I assisted. I back up vocal of.
So you just bum rush the stage and you're like.
No, not really. I got dragged up there, I think.
Okay.
Well, politely dragged into a. I think it was Bohemian Rhapsody of all songs. It was tough.
Yeah, that's
tough. I think, yeah. I don't know. I haven't really intentionally done karaoke in a long time, so I can't remember what it would be. It'd be some obscure. Well, it'd probably be some obscure hip hop song.
Oh, really?
Unlike this backing track of AI hip hop, which is not. This is
yeah.
Not,
I think their AI needs to get like better trained or something like that.
Sad. I just can't make it do anymore. I could try and shuffle it, see if it comes up with a better. Nah, it's strange stuff.
It's very strange, very xylophone-y.
It is
like Fisher Price xylophone, though. Like, we're not talking sophisticated xylophone here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, AI is, I guess, it's baby AI. It needs to mature.
Mm-hmm. Are you doing like the shuffle in the car, like when you hit scan and you're like in between cities?
It's kind of like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only. I don't have that much control in this Restream platform. I get to click shuffle and then there was the triangle.
Oh, I heard a triangle.
There's a triangle. We got the elementary AI. Your timing is off, Gene. Oh, you just missed it. On the strike of the third triangle, we should go live or go rogue. Go into the episode. But we have to start counting. But anyway.
Just take a deep breath. You need like a big cleansing breath. It shows in your eyes. You just need a big cleansing breath.
My eyes have been staring at drawing software all day. So how do you like that? Yeah, I know they look terrible. I think the angle is bad, right? Is that any better?
This is like those old GoPro videos that the prequel to the Coffee Sketch podcast.
Oh God!
Let me take you on a walk around.
Remember that?
Oh yeah,
It was ugly. That was well, it wasn't too terribly ugly. I'm proud of that. Proud of my roots. Never forget your roots, Jamie.
no.
Oh boy. Well, anywho, let's see if anybody threw a chat up. Nothing yet. You know,
Those triangles are coming more frequently. I think they're trying to give you a signal.
Yeah. Well, we have an interesting concept for today. It's going to be we're going to go from 2 to 11.
Mm.
We're going to turn it up to 11.
Do you feel like you're up for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm always up for 11. So, but since we just did this last week, I have exactly the right button to click. Ready to go. So, on the next triangle, we're going to go live. Or roll intro. Here it is. Oh, here it is. Hey, Jamie. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Our triangle cue is gone.
I know. I hear no triangles, which is good.
You hear no triangles, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think there's triangles in your head. It's going to be there forever now.
Probably.
So, I'm all right. We were talking. For those who can watch this, computer aided drafting and design, which is also known as CAD of all sorts, or BIM, building information modeling. The drawing software tools are not kind on the eyes. Jamie's picking on me for looking tired and sad. So I made some serious progress on a drawing set for a house with a lot of corners. It's got a lot of corners, and it's a lot of jogs, a lot of turns. This house is busy. It's a busy project.
I like how you're just like it's not that you're backtracking, but you're sort of like CAD-splaining. You're
yeah, CAD-splaining in the politest of CAD-splaining.
Yes. Yeah.
I've never heard that term, that invented term before. CAD-splaining.
It just happened.
Jamie has.
I have coined it for everybody's benefit.
The good thing is we won't be looking at any drawings.
No.
that I did that in order to CAD-splain you.
No. This is all about the coffee sketch. Cheers.
That's right. Yes. Cheers, sir. Oh my gosh. Thanks for cheering me up and not picking on my puffy eyes anymore.
I mean, this all started with me just trying to make you have a deep cleansing breath, because I really felt like you needed it. The way you had this, like, your face just looked like you were carrying the weight of the world, and so I'm CAD-splaining it away with a good coffee sketch. So
in the family feud that we've been politely having, there haven't had any grenades lobbed in our direction lately.
We haven't had a whole lot of episodes drop for them to know that you're still holding that.
I hold a grudge.
Yeah.
I don't really hold grudges, but you know.
No, I know. No, I mean, of all people, like to initiate a coffee feud, you were not the one that I thought would think that. Like that's like, I mean, almost
I
like you
could,
almost would think it would be more me,
right? Yeah, yeah.
but then
Brutal.
I kind of don't go there either. You know, in all honesty, I mean, it's like I
True,
can be
true.
I can be abrupt, um, maybe a little intense sometimes, but not interested in the coffee feud. So,
Well, then I might just let it go.
oh, don't let it go
Don't let
yet.
it go. Okay, okay.
You gotta, we have to keep it going for at least like the month of October,
Good, good. There's
and
yeah,
then
multiple
in
October themes,
November is Thanksgiving,
right?
and
Grace and forgiveness and
there's yeah.
peace and stuff.
Then we get to the end of the year, and you're picking up a word. I mean, looking ahead. You know, there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, you know, we're week 9, ending week 9 in the semester. So there's now 5 to 6 weeks left in the semester. So before you know it, November is going to go by like that, and then we're going to be into December and the end of the year. So you're right. It's it's creeping up on us.
I thought you were going to ask me to be a juror again.
Well, we're a lot
You're
of
like, excuse
we're
me. Um,
well, we're in person right now a lot.
okay.
There possibly could work out a virtual um, possibility. So I will keep you on the speed dial if you're willing. It started to sound like you were escaping your
I have no idea what I was.
CAD explaining duties.
I have no idea what I was saying, but yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, yes. I well, how's that? What's in the mug for you? Coffee mug.
I am enjoying like our coffee sketch podcast roast. Um, it's
Using up our
still
supply, huh?
I'm not really I'm being very judicious about it, but on days that I know that we're going to pod,
Well,
you
I'm
know.
not going to give it to anybody in particular, McCormick. So there's plenty for us.
See,
Oh, there it is.
I walked right up to that and I didn't even see it. I'm so proud of you. That was good.
Yes, thanks.
Even though
Yes.
I almost feel like now I'm a party to this, but I'm not.
I know.
I'm not.
I pulled you. It's a subtle implication.
Yeah, it's like
It's the implication.
I didn't know I was driving the car and he went to go in the bank and he came out with all this stuff and said, "It's time to go." And I just went and I didn't
Right.
know. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying. I haven't had any since the one bag. I've been frugal myself, maintaining, but I'm still on some.
I have sent a few bags.
Oh,
Like
how kind of you.
if I had like you can see behind me, I do not have a map of the US with like yarn, but I have, because that would be weird, on many levels.
Sounds
But
like a
no,
good idea.
yeah, you're like, but you can't see this wall over here.
Right.
Yeah,
Turn the
it's
camera.
like, you see all these photos of Cormac, you know. Yeah, no.
Yeah, there's a big buffer right around.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
exclusionary zone.
So yeah, but
So
yeah, no, it's still good. It's I'm very pleased with the folks at Rootless having picked that one as our collab blend. So thanks again to them. Good stuff. What about
yes,
yourself? What
yeah.
do you
Well,
drink?
you know, I'm on some Rootless right now. Some of their they're one of their longtime favorites. Dark. It's called Dark. It's dark roast. pretty self-explanatory, I think.
I
It's a good
did.
one.
I did because you had mentioned the dark roast on the last episode with Steven. I was shopping this week, and I knew that I was like, well, I need to balance my supply, so I needed something else, and I did find something. I'm not going to talk about it on this episode, but I'll talk about it on the next one. And it was sort of inspired by your diving back towards the dark.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to it. And
And
I'm
it's one I
running.
haven't tried, and I haven't tried it yet.
Huh?
So I'm like, I'm literally going to save it for the next episode. So
That sounds good. And
yeah.
I probably will have something new then too, because I'm running low on some beans there. So as a proud coffee drinker who's trying to crunch out lots of drawings these days.
Oh, speaking of coffee drinking, we haven't mentioned this on the podcast, but probably coming up pretty soon is I have been in contact with the coffee research folks at Texas A&M.
Oh, we
We haven't
haven't
talked about it. You and I have talked about it, but we haven't talked about it on the podcast.
Right.
And
Okay.
so I'm dropping it here as sort of a little thread.
Coffee
This is the dropping a couple coffee beans in this episode. We'll pick it up in another one. But they have a research lab on campus, and have been in contact with them. They've enjoyed the podcast. And I think it'll be an interesting. I get to have a tour, so yeah. Always, architects always love a tour. So
building tours. We like spaces.
Yeah, see stuff, enjoy it. Yeah,
I will say I did listen to I believe it's the latest ArchiSpeak to speak nice about our friends over there, and Cormac he did make a mention about site visiting or touring or something like that, and how his architecture family members tend to not understand so much why we architects like to look at building.
Well, it's a balancing act, right? That's the whole thing. It's you gotta, when you're traveling with folks who aren't architects, and I've had this many a conversation with folks. It's like they're like, oh, I'm going on a trip, and they say where they're going. I'm like, ooh, and I think we all do it. Start thinking down that list of like, okay, Phoenix, what's in Phoenix? And you go down this list of things you've seen, things you haven't seen, like when were you there last? What's nearby, like what's in driving distance, like striking distance as an architect. And then they're like, whoa. I'm going with other people, and they know I'm an architect, but and you hear that phrase, and it's usually really worded really close to that. We all have said it, admit it, we've all said it, and we know in our heart that there's a part of us that's saying, yeah, but can I steal away for an afternoon and just one? I just want to go to one building, just one. There's one on my list that's really close by. I took a long flight to get here, or I drove in just one. I just have one. For those who are in relationships, there is this natural bartering. For friendships, the same thing. For work colleagues, God, I hope your work colleagues already know that when you travel, you want to go see stuff. I will tell one quick anecdote, okay, along these lines. So I'm in Boston earlier this year at a national conference for Main Street. And so a lot of the Main Street folks that I deal with are obviously interested in historic preservation, but to some degree, it's more about the community and economic development, and not necessarily the buildings and the architecture and the architects and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's part of it, but it's not like as high a priority, for a lot of them, unless I'm with the architect types in that group. So I'm out with a few of our local managers, and we're having dinner, and I realize that we're really, really close to MIT's campus. And I'm like, I wonder if I can, like in my brain, I'm like, I wonder if I can just like, if I know that I know the subway stop we have to get is here, but if we walk just a little bit this way, I can go see a part of MIT's campus and see one of Frank Gehry's buildings on there that's just sort of fascinated me. And they indulged me. A lot of them still rib me about it afterwards and say, I remember when you took us on that side trip to go see some architecture.
Well, there's Frank Gehry, there's Stephen Hall.
Oh yeah. I wasn't, that was too far. I knew where that wasn't. It wasn't happening.
There's so much on MIT. Yeah, I get it. Well, you're also going on a trip next week, right?
I am.
So yep. Opportunities.
Yeah. I have a little more control over my schedule, but going to Nacogdoches.
Oh, that's New Mexico, right?
No.
Is that Texas still?
It's still Texas. Nacogdoches is East Texas, so the opposite side of the New Mexico side. Are you looking at a map?
No, I was letting the dog out of the room there.
I thought you were tipping everybody off who's watching this, like where Kurt keeps his yarn-filled map.
Right.
It's off to the left. Like
the that's I've heard that name before. It's I think I heard it was like on Breaking Bad or something. I don't know. They talk about
sure.
It's cool. Well,
don't make me spell it, but yes, that's where I'm going.
Cool. That sounds cool. Take a picture of a sign with
probably a few.
City.
Yeah. I'll probably take a few. Yeah.
Well, so it is October. So every October for I don't know how long. It's been quite a while. I should have checked stats, but the Archinktober because theme, I guess, or themes comes up every year. So every day for the month of October, there's a prompt for sketches. And since my personal schedule has not allowed us to be as punctual for, say, the first, because in the past, we've probably landed nearer to the first of the month with some bit of conversation about this, because it's a lot of fun. It's a good exercise for those who are not familiar with it. It must have started off as like a hashtag or some sort of challenge or something like that.
Yeah, so there's a hashtag Inktober that's sort of like predates it and has existed for a while. And so I was following a lot of those prompts just as a general sketcher, right? And then I think in 2019, so our first year of our podcast, Archinktober. There we go. See, we've had this conversation. Like, this is my deja vu moment. Like, we've had this conversation before, where like if you add the prefix ARCH to something, I'm going to pronounce it totally differently than Kurt will.
The world of architecture is probably 50-50 split on that. But because you're not the only one.
Are that many Canadians in architecture?
I don't know. It just
Okay, mark the tape right there, because that was a good one. Jamie got a good one. You were like visibly surprised, and like that was a good laugh. You have laughed so much more in the last, I don't know what, 20 minutes.
24.
There you go.
5 minutes. Yes.
Friendship right here.
You've lightened the mood.
Here we go.
He dragged me out. Not that I was in a
No,
dark depression or anything like that, but
no, but the eyes were like, oh my God.
yeah, it was starting to.
Let me CAD-splane the corners of this building.
Exactly.
So many corners. There's just so many corners.
I will not send you the floor plan, but I will clip
God,
that out.
you need to get something about that floor plan out in the socials just to help everybody, because there's going to be like, if we had some powerful memers, is that a thing? Like, who listen to this, there would be like it'd be like corner. Yeah.
Well, Archinktober is we're deep into 2023 Archinktober, but Jamie has not. What's the word I was trying to think of? He has not let us down. He's got 16 already finished, and we're gonna. Well, I might as well just show the grid while we go through this. But these are the 16 days of Archinktober that Jamie has produced so far, and he's on a roll.
30 days has September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31. So there's 15 more of these. 15 more coming.
Yeah, I'm excited. Have you ever made a full month of Archinktober?
No.
Well, this is the time.
I've gotten damn close. I will say it that, and I will say it that way. I've gotten damn close.
Yeah.
And recently I was asked to provide or to donate a sketch for a silent auction, actually at the conference I'm going to. And so it gave me an opportunity to pull out a couple sketchbooks and sort of look to see. And what it made me realize is in October I get really prolific and consistent and consistent for a while. And there's other months too that it sort of repeats itself. But yeah, I have shared with the author of the prompts that the prompts do help, but they also hurt. So
double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Double-edged sword. So Jamie came up with the idea which we haven't done in quite a long time. If anybody's listened since the early days, is a lightning round. Which was, I listened to that lightning round one again at some, not very recently, but multiple times, and it is always it almost sounds crazy when you think about like how we didn't really plan much, and it came out really well. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, you were really diligent about the timer on it. We're like, oh, time, gotta move on.
Well, we could do that today.
Yeah.
We could. I mean, we maybe we should.
We probably should, for the audience's sake. Yes.
But let me. So I'll do a quick scan. So everyone on video can see the grid. There's 16 4 by 4, nice and tight grid. And I haven't really, again, I've been buried in my own drawings. So I didn't even realize Jamie had turned out 16 days in a row. And so this is a fun one. I'm familiar, one of those
and to be honest, some of these are sketches that have occurred before, but all the ones you're seeing are all new. So they might be subject matter that I've drawn before, but every sketch is absolutely brand new.
Good to know.
And so maybe that's a tease or like a prod or a critique even. Oh, yes, critique, because we talked about crits before, of the Archinktober prompts because damn if we need to start shuffling those prompts around because we don't want to be repeating ourselves. And
Oh,
I've
I see.
noticed that there's some things in October, or maybe it's a critique of myself. Maybe I'm drawing the same things in my brain's like.
Well, right.
Yeah.
I mean, could go both.
Could go both ways.
In
Damn
both
it.
directions.
Damn it. Okay.
There's a lot of fun stuff.
PG stuff here. No.
I think that's well. I think as long as you don't say it like 10 times in a row, right?
Okay.
There's a censorship rule.
Right. There's
This is a fun one. I think we might wind up. This might be not that it's near the bottom of this structure here, but there's some recent events in the USC world that
is there?
we might need to talk about.
We could talk about that one. That was
well, it's not it's football, not architecture in this case.
I know.
It's not all good news.
I know it's all. I know. I mean, I have the same pain. So.
Yeah, and so some Aggie struggles. Did I? And I got them in the right order, right? Yeah, I think
I believe so. Yes, that's 16. Yep.
Well, oh man, this is gonna be tough. Because so what did we did the rule set last time?
I like how you were just like, this reminds me. I'm having this is good. I feel like the lightning round. It's like we're dusting it off. Like that equipment was over here. Like it was just over here, and it's like it's just been waiting for you to touch it.
I was looking.
I have no idea what's on your phone right now, but it's damn important.
Well, no, I was trying to get the clock. I was trying to think about how do I do this time. And we did 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
We did like 10 sketches last time. You know what we should do? We should do 2 times.
Oh my gosh, it's math. It's math.
We could do 8 of them.
Okay.
Which saves 8.
Okay.
And so it's 16 minutes. And I might not necessarily go top 8.
Okay.
Oops.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. No.
I might just jump.
That's cool.
I can keep an eye on the timer. And there's the prompt though, or our lightning round prompt last time wasn't necessarily. How did we do it? Did I make you describe things, or did I pick something to initiate I can't remember because early on it was about technique and things like that, right? We talked about.
Yeah, and we could do that too. Because I honestly did mix up. What's nice about this batch is that there is some mixing of technique. I mean, it was, and I'll preface it by saying that even when you go back to the earlier episode where we're introducing the idea of Archinktober and talking about it, one of the challenges that I found was like, here's a situation where I am really trying to respond to a prompt that somebody else has generated. And I'm doing it in the order, like I'm not going out of order. These aren't being generated ahead of, the prompts are generated not way ahead, a week or 2 before October. But I'm not trying to get ahead of them. I am trying to kind of digest them daily. Some of the sketches, like if, and I said this last time, and it's the same thing is true today, is like some of them, like on the day of, I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea like what I would draw for that. And it's like, and the prompt is it just doesn't resonate with me in the moment, but I won't move on to the next prompt until I've resolved the first one. It's kind of like, like you're in the video game and you can't get past that door, so
the boss. Gotta beat the boss.
Yeah. So like the final boss, I'm like, what is the final boss is a train station. I've totally got train station in my head. There's lots of train stations.
On the 31st.
Who knows what'll happen on the 31st that it's going to like lock me up so I can't handle the final boss. But, and I say that like, in my brain, but so that's a good analogy. That's a good preface. So you handle this however you want. We can go either direction.
Okay, so well, I think 2 minutes. We'll do a 2 minute timer. I think you should. So I might just dive in. I'm going to probably start into one, but then I want you to tell me the prompt,
Yep.
and then we're going to talk a little bit about the execution, and then we're going to go, and then we're probably be 2 minutes, and then we're going to move on.
Okay.
And that's the game plan. And by the challenge will be I'll mix up the directions.
Crap.
And so that hopefully the day won't matter. So we have, let's see, in 30 seconds, we're gonna get started, and then the time will. This will be fun. Thanks for suggesting doing this again. It's been, and I think we should do lightning round again for
In a couple
the
days.
rest of them.
Yeah. Yeah. We can do that. We can do it. We'll try our best.
All right, 5 seconds. 5 seconds. I gotta get to the right window.
I have a really cool idea for the 17th.
All right, so the first one, the 7th.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, we're not there yet. So,
No, I know.
I mean, so day one, I have to start on day one, but it's also because it's a co-op Himmelblau building, which I forget the name of the building, but what was the prompt in this case?
1980s.
Oh, yeah.
Of which neither one of us was in architecture school. Just
No.
for all the listeners out there, we're not that old. But yeah, 1980s.
And so the building was completed in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the one thing about I always want to say Coop
Yeah,
Himmelblau.
I know.
But
Yeah, me too.
it's a
Yep.
co-op. The idea is a co-op, but they did a lot of really exciting. We probably have talked about this before, but they did a lot of stuff that without CAD, no CAD splaining back then. They did hand drawing splaining, and this is a very quirky building. Renovation sort of sits on top of an existing sort of classical building, and I
It's
don't
a lot.
know, law office, yeah. And I don't know. I mean, what do you?
No, I think
What?
to me it was like when I saw 1980s as the prompt, I was trying to think of either things that like resonated for me like as a child of the 80s maybe, but then I thought no, don't go there because that would be sort of our pop culture realm. I was like, what's the architecture of the 80s? What's the resonant, thread? And for me, it's what you and I've talked about before is the 80s were paper architecture for deconstructivists. It was you had architects now in the 90s, 2000s, and then into this century that are really the preeminent architecture firms, or the ones who have sort of created that trajectory. And in the mid to late 80s, into the early to mid 90s, they were creating a lot of paper architecture with very few realized projects. And Coop Himmelblau was one that had this realized project in Vienna. Very few photographs of it. Like, this is the signature view. You had a couple drawings where you're trying to understand, like, what the hell were they making? And, as an architecture student who's seeing this in a monograph or in a magazine, and knowing it's already built because this is several years later, it was just a fascinating piece and sort of a touchstone for me.
And we are out of time. We're actually a little over time, so I'll have to cut you off there. We got to stick to the rules, Jamie. But I appreciate all of those sentiments. We could probably circle back on some of those. All right, not to belabor it. This one stuck out to me because, and I think that the prompt was retreat or
Pines.
something. What was it?
Pines.
Ah, yes. But the building, the house, or this sort of, this I think is not a particular place, right? This is something you came up
It
with.
was no, I did do kind of a quick Google like look at like modern architecture in the woods. and this was an architect and an architecture that I wasn't necessarily familiar with. Um,
Oh.
and but it was one that sort of stood out to me, less so for the architecture itself, and I don't even want to go into the the architect and why they
Right.
did it or whatever, but sort of the setting was, like how do and then for me, as because I wanted to render it, this is the thing, I wanted to experiment with the sort of rendering techniques, and because initially my whole thought was like a forest, pine trees, Pacific Northwest, you know, the the maritime provinces of Quebec. I mean, and Canada, and upstate New York, Vermont, something. And like, how do you start to render that environment, and then how do you drop architecture into it?
Hmm.
And so this was sort of playing with lines, that whole line technique about the forest. And I didn't. And what was funny was, I rendered the forest as you sort of see it there in the lower, the mid to lower foreground, and I didn't even like it. And so this is, again, this one was only like a 10-minute sketch. It really did come across really quickly. And at the very, very end, I was like, the forest, the pines really aren't sort of speaking to me the way that I want to. And so I ghosted in this sort of idea of the trees being a whole lot taller than the architecture. That
Hmm.
the scale really needed to play with one another, a little bit more, and then the architecture, of course, has that rectilinear form and all that.
Well, the fun part, I think, what struck me, the building itself is nice. It's a nice proportion in the foreground, but then the background with the trees, that unlike some of your sky renderings with the line work, is the pine trunks, the base of the trees are the ones that are getting the line treatment, and then the canopy is kind of like this sort of, yeah, like you said, an allusion to a massive stand of trees. So look at it, just seems like a big clump that's much bigger
It,
than
it, it it's
than the.
I think that was the happy accident. We haven't sort of talked about the happy accident in sketching before, or in a long time, and this is one of those where, like, I wanted the denseness of the forest as the background, and so
Yeah.
that was what renders the way it does at the bottom. But then the scale was wrong, so I experimented with it, and I think it came. Hopefully, it came across the way you're describing it.
Well, I think so. And time. We got to stick to the sketch, buddy. I think honestly, I'm not trying to go in order here, but I do want to touch on this one, and
Oh
then I
no,
might start mixing it up.
Columbia buddy. Yeah, I got you. I see
So
you.
this is
I see
part
you.
La Villette there.
Yes.
Yeah, and I hope you're washing your coffee mug every day, or you have multiples. But yeah, well, if this is La Villette, Bernard Tschumi, um, Folly. So is the prompt Folly
Yes.
of some
Yeah.
kind? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Follies. Are there any follies now? They tend to call things installations, right? They don't really use the word folly anymore.
No, I still like the folly part.
I like
You know,
I
'cause,
like it too, but you don't hear it
it's
much.
no, you don't. I mean, because to me, the folly it implies a hell of a lot more fun.
Right.
And
Experimentation. I wonder if
well,
it implies also frivolity, you know,
well, eh,
wasted expense.
I
Whereas
think that
installation has more intention. I don't know. It's
that might be the case. I mean,
psychology.
maybe it's a Heatherwick response. Was that a chime for us?
No, sorry. That was the dishes.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow, like there's a gong. That
I'm
we need
surprised this mic is picking up some of those background noises too much.
we
But
need a gong
anyways,
next time. We need a gong next time. That would be good.
I
You're
guess so.
done. Yeah.
It's over next to
Yeah.
my map. But
Yeah. Right. So, but yeah, I wonder if it is that the Heatherwick kind of um, designing to excess
oh,
versus
I see.
designing with a little bit of fun in mind and experimentation, which
Yeah.
is really where I think Shumi and Lavalette and things of that ilk is it is architecture. It is semi-programmed architecture, um, and it is a little bit of an installation. But at the same time, it's pushing the boundaries of art and architecture. And I think that that's where I hope some of the things that I've been able to do in my career have landed.
Yeah.
I wish I could do more of it.
Well, the conversation around the definition folly, I guess, just because maybe we would have, maybe somebody would have assumed we would have talked about Shumi's thing in a little different light, but given that we have kind of talked about Lavalette, in the past, I thought it'd be interesting, and I appreciate your take on this definition of folly, and perhaps it'll cause me, and I think I'm bleeding over time here, but I have a city contract potentially that I might be able to institute some folly effect. Yeah, I'll let you know. Well, we haven't inked, we haven't arc inked the contract yet, but so now I'm gonna jump here because it's
Ooh,
kind of maybe in the same vein of folly in that it potentially is a paper architecture sketch. So what do you remember the prompt on this one? Did I jump too far?
no, heavy.
Ah, well, okay. I could see the physical mass of the weight of this upper form in the sketch there. So it's kind of like the favorite hybrid dye. I don't, what we've called hybrid sketching or hybrid landscapes or
Yeah,
dystopian futures. Um, I feel like we need to coin a very distinct term
we do.
that is sort of encompasses this, that maybe is not necessarily the word hybrid
Well,
and dystopian.
because it's not all dystopian. It's
Yeah.
like that's the whole thing. Is like for yes, I'm fascinated by dystopian architecture and design, but I want to believe that I'm a little bit more optimistic than that.
Optopian.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll work on it. Like we'll put that over. We'll put that in the what do they say we'll workshop it.
Yeah.
We'll workshop that.
Put it on that map board.
Yeah, put that on that whiteboard that you got over there next to the yarn map.
The yarn map. That's right. Exactly. Well, so the sketch. It's kind of fun, I guess. The level of shadow and shade and hatch that
I will tell
generates
you.
mass, right?
Well, and it's funny because like this one has sort of a unique technique in terms of how it's rendered the sky a little bit differently, as sort of almost like a backdrop,
Yeah.
and almost like a silhouette in a sense, which I do pick up on in a couple other sketches and try in a different couple ways. But what was interesting to me as I was doing this one was, and I know I'm running out of time, but it's there was a time like in the way back, and it like as I thought of this one based on like I was watching Ahsoka, like I was watching all the episodes of Ahsoka, and there's this whole like they're on this planet and there's heavy things and like they're all suspended over this very kind of rich delicate landscape, and it was like what was the mental image in my brain. So all these objects are kind of you know poised over a landscape. They're all connected to it, but they're heavy things over the top of it.
Hmm.
So the foreground becomes super important. You have to ground this image. And in the perspective, as you're grounding the image, as things get closer and closer to you, you want to give the viewer a way to enter it.
Hmm.
And it reminded me of a drawing technique that I learned probably in elementary school. There was this program on cable TV that I cannot remember the name of to save my life. I have looked for it. The Googles have not found it for me yet. But there was a person when I was living in California. It might have been, it might have been one of those like cable network access shows. You know, now that I think about it, but there was a person who got on and they would draw these drawings and they would teach about perspective, but they would do it in a way that was sort of like, okay, so you want to engage people, so you want to be able to walk into the drawing, and they talk there because they're talking to the audience of elementary school people. I'm hoping they were talking to us that way. But the techniques that they came up with, and they would say, oh, well, here's the pathway, and they would draw like a path, and oh, here's the steps, and they would draw the steps, and they would draw it all real time with sort of like fairly big Sharpies and stuff. That is what I was trying to emulate.
Yeah. I think I used to watch that show too.
As a technique.
Did he wind up drawing a lot of like these sort of spacey sort of realm? Oh my
very,
God.
very spacey.
We watched the same thing. I love that show too.
Yes.
It does have that it does have that exact sort of vibe in it. That this sort of everything sort of crops up to shape and shape the pathway, the space, things like that.
And so this is going to be the jumping off point for Coffee Sketch 2.0, where we go off and do like Jamie talks to the camera and says, "Okay, so here's the pathway."
That show was amazing. We got to figure out what that was called. So
yes,
all right. So now
that was awesome.
Going back in time a few days. Let's go over here. I think this is number 5 or 6.
Clock Tower.
Okay. Moving on. Is this Big Ben?
It is Big Ben.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any other clock tower?
I mean, Chevy Chase would tell you no. There's only one. So
Parliament, Big Ben, Parliament. Well, it's a great sketch of the Big Ben, the waterfront, or the riverfront, and then some of the other. Well, that's Parliament, right? That's
Parliament.
That's right next to it there, and sort of hint at other space. So, did you draw that pretty quickly, like a shorter?
Again, tried to draw really fast because it's one that I have drawn before from different angles, and so this one, was looking at photographs from when Em and I went to London, and so this was looking at a photo, but at the same time trying to draw it quickly as if you're there. And that's sort of an experiment that maybe I haven't described to folks before is, if you do take a trip and you take a photo of something, you can still try and create that quick sketch experience by looking at the photo and trying to, set a timer for yourself and saying, okay, within this smaller amount of time, I'm going to render that vantage point. And so in this one, you can see that the tower itself is really rendered really strongly. And I did that intentionally, and then also brought it into the water because water is always tricky to draw, but it's beautiful if you get it right. And then Parliament, the details kind of as you move away from that epicenter, they get more and more sketchy, and that's both a time thing, but also sort of an intentional thing with the drawing itself.
Well, I think it really puts the focal point on, well, especially for the prompt, and so. And the water reflections are really nice, and I really like it. So that's why it's on the short list today. And I guess I think for a couple of reasons we'll just jump right next to it. Well, one reason is that there's some pencil in this one, which we haven't seen any pencil or any other technique yet, as you mentioned. And then there's this weird sort of scale thing going on of this giant person pointing at this small, maybe more normal human scale figure on this balcony of some kind. Is this from a movie or a...
Yeah. So this is the second Blade Runner.
Oh,
the 2049. And so if you remember in Blade Runner, they would have sort of AI generated
fingers, because AI is not good at the fingers.
They have these figures that were sort of like, it was digital screens that were kind of advertising, marketing, but at the same time it was sort of like Minority Report, where it's like responding to you, as the viewer. And so Blade Runner kind of picked that up, and I think Blade Runner had it, and then Minority Report tried to play with it, and now you've got Blade Runner 2049 like really making it its own.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, so the prompt on this one, can I see if you can guess the prompt?
Marketing.
Because AI is a prompt, but it's not this one.
Oh, I don't know. I would say marketing.
No. Flashing.
Flashing.
Architecture prompts, flashing. So I didn't go with what everybody's going to go with. I went with the images flashing before you.
Yeah. Sure. Well, I think the backstory on the 2049 helps, because I did see that movie, and it's been a while, but it's a plus also has a really interesting sense of scale. So I'm loosely keeping track of time. By the way, I mean we're close, but
we're close. and to respond to the pencil and ink is, when I do figures, I do find that, like, I can do a sketch of a figure, ink alone, and do it quickly, but I am far more comfortable doing it with a pencil, even with a weird golf pencil that looks like it's been like
chewed on
or something. But yeah, so yeah.
Well, the smudges kind of add to that sort of ethereal effect, digital, temporal,
That was the hope. I mean,
it's kind of foggy, and it's pretty cool. I think.
I mean, it's LA in the dystopian rainstorm of whatever. Yeah.
All right, let's. Oh yeah, that's okay. What did have we done 6 or 7? I think we're on 6. We'll do 2 more. Let's go here.
Ooh.
And then we'll go. We already kind of know where we're ending on the Gamble House there, but so just because you did mention with one of the earlier sketches the idea of folly and in sort of in your own work, and I know what this is.
Yeah.
Which is your Kraken photon fable and the installation or the folly of your own, which I think had a really such an eye-catching effect. And I forgot what your budget was, but it must have been pretty lean, and you pulled off a really intriguing fabrication, with light and text, right, sort of baked into it and all that. And so this is like a sort of a diagrammatic sketch, but also kind of illusional, or if that's a word, illusionary, of the Kraken itself, right? Like an actual sea monster, right? Which is kind of the concept, right? This Kraken,
right,
and so the tentacles are kind of flaying out and all that stuff. And then I don't know. I have no idea what the little
I don't have anything
diagram on the sketch.
Say, right?
What's that?
I almost don't have anything else to say. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, you could add in. Well, I don't know what does it say kinetic?
So the prompt was kinetic, and I think that was the thing, was the two things that were playing at the original site for Creek Show. So the original, this was installed twice: 10 days over a creek, which you're seeing here, and then 10 months in a museum, kind of reimagined. But in both, it was sort of the idea of a piece of sculpture that isn't moving. So it isn't, it doesn't have mechanical parts. It's not animatronic or something like that. But implies movement. You look at it and you can imagine, like, if you look back at it, has it moved? And that kinetic aspect of things was, how do you capture that moment in time with the architecture? And kind of this one came off of feeding off of the first prompt as well. So the first prompt was called Pimmelblau and Deconstructivism, and in my mind, 1980s, and kind of where does my design ethic and impulse kind of come from, and it's a lot of that. And so this particular work, is feeding on all those ideas. And because I think that action of the architecture that occurs in deconstructivism is something that really spoke to me as a designer. And so this particular project was a way to kind of try and capture that in something that was static with a limited budget, one that we designed, built, and erected, ourselves with a very, very small team of people, and mildly, also in a creek in November, so it was cold. But
Cold for you.
yeah, right, it was cold. Yeah, exactly. But I think the other part of it too was, as much as it's the sea creature, the one part of this that doesn't ever really get talked about is, because of the light aspect of it, is sort of the figuring out the exploded axo that's sort of sketched here of how do you create these tentacles that are illuminating text. We had to experiment with the lighting supplier on which lights we were going to use. We had a mock-up that we dangled in the creek, just one section of it. But the idea of capturing that idea of motion, and the way I would describe it to people before we had built anything was, I want it to look like a light cycle from Tron.
Ah.
And
Uh-huh.
and how do you capture that motion? And if you remember, in both versions of Tron, or if you played the video game like back in the day, the stand-up one, um, as the light cycle would move down the path and then make these amazing turns, the light behind it would stay.
Yeah, right.
Right. And so my thought was, what if these tentacles were like light cycles that were sort of moving down and making the turns in these kind of strange angles? And so it, inside joke for myself, but sort of a way to develop the design.
Sure. Well, it's a good visual reference. Well, that's cool. I mean, whoever has not seen the images of this project needs to go track them down, and I'm sure Jamie will help point you in that direction. But it is a really cool installation, folly, fabrication. So I didn't want to leave that one out. And so lastly, since we're right, try and keep this to 2 minutes. Only reason I wanted to squeeze in the Gamble House, because I went to USC, so I have to. USC owns the Gamble House, which is a fun fact for those people. It's a beautiful craftsman, Japanese inspired. The Green brothers, I should say. Green and Green is the architecture firm. Were very inspired. Well, they really kind of part of the initiation of this highly, how do you put it, like high craftsman architecture movement, where I mean, like every joint, every corner in their designs, so meticulously detailed and fabricated and all this stuff. So it's a really nice house. I've been to it a couple many times, I guess, as a student. And if you ever go to USC as a student, they pick 2 fifth-year seniors to live there.
What?
Yeah, 2 students every year get to live there for the whole school year. And they use the basement for their studio space, and then you obviously have to drive because it's actually in Pasadena. You got to get down the hill into LA. But when I was
go down the hill.
Yeah, it was a little easier then maybe than now. But a good friend of mine was the awardee of the scholarship, or whatever you call it, the internship residency, and so I got to visit a lot more, and all crazy hours of the day. So it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of ghost stories of the Gamble family in that house, but I guess maybe it's more folklore. I never saw a ghost, but I didn't sleep there ever, so You never know. But the I only and then the others.
It is October, so
I know. Yeah. Yes. And only other reason to bring it up is USC got pummeled by Notre Dame. So we're not always amazing and perfect people, right? Us Trojans. So anyway, we won't need to dwell on football scores though.
No, and in the sketch, we're not going to dwell on the sketch. It was, I've only been there once, certainly not as many times as Kurt. We can definitely talk about Green and Green anytime you'd like to, because the architecture and the detailing is absolutely amazing. But there is a hashtag that's buried in this sketch that no one has noticed yet. I expected some of my Texas architects at least maybe to just sort of like wink and nod at me, but I will drop it here on the podcast to see if any of them actually listen. But so there is a scale figure on the drive to the building, and this is what happens when Michael Malone does a photobomb on your sketch.
So what's the hashtag?
I think it's when Michael Malone photobombs your sketch.
Oh,
like that's the hashtag. When Michael Malone photobombs your sketch, and like no one has like caught that buried within the hashtags that I put on these sketches. So
right, cool.
Michael Malone is a very talented sketcher as well, and has a very successful architecture firm. Was also the TXA president. I believe this was his year he was president, so maybe that's why he felt like he could just walk right up to the building while everybody's, sort of taking a look at it. And he's standing there dead center taking his photo, but yeah.
Well, so what was the prompt for this one, for the Archinktober?
I think it was Green and Green.
Green and Green. Oh, well, there you go.
Or no, it wasn't Green and Green. It was Gamble House. I mean, it was like, go draw the Gamble House. It was like, well, okay, I was there once,
Oh, great.
So, yeah.
Oh, there was actually a Halloween party at the Gamble House that I don't think was sanctioned. And
were there ghosts?
Well, I couldn't remember. Too many beers.
Was there karaoke? And what was the song?
No karaoke. A lot of good dress up though of my classmates. Yeah, I don't think they were allowed. They were supposed to have that kind of a party, but it was a architecture. It was very respectful because I mean, what architects aren't going to destroy the house, right? It's a historic landmark.
God, it's not right. Yeah, I mean,
so yeah,
Green and Green would come back from the grave. They're probably buried in the backyard. I mean,
I wouldn't be, and I mean, to tie in our favorite things.
Was that irreverent? Was that me being irreverent? Maybe. Maybe. I'm an Aggie, versus you as a Trojan. So
the garage was used in Back to the Future as Doc's shop. I think we probably talked about that.
I think Ben Kasdan told me that. Like that might be on Ben Kasdan's when you meet Ben for the first time. Like he just like says, "Hey, do you know?" Because like that's.
I could see him doing that.
Where did Ben go to school?
Cal Poly Pomona, I think it was Pomona, maybe San Luis Obispo, but
that makes sense.
He's in the Cal Poly system.
But
he's a Southern Californian, so
he loves that movie though.
Oh yeah. Well, everyone should, but
right. Well, yeah. I mean,
well, the lightning round for right now has completed. Maybe we should extend the timer to 3 minutes. We were probably more like 3 minute average, which is fun. It's a lot of fun. So I think for there, we're just going to have to let you go and save some more sketches for another lightning round. And then we might have to do 3 more lightning rounds because we have still a whole month of Archinktober to finish. So we might as well touch all the sketches.
Lots of fun.
All right, buddy. Thanks.